Hey, welcome back to the New England Endurance Podcast. I'm your host, Art Tripotsis, and today's episode sits right at the intersection of endurance sports and the environment in which we train and race. And we spend a lot of time talking about our splits and our training plans, but what happens when the course itself, the water you're swimming in, the roads you're riding on, are directly impacted by environmental conditions? So today we're talking with two people from the Buzzards Bay Coalition. It's an organization working to protect the health of Buzzards Bay and its surrounding watershed here in Massachusetts. They also put on a couple of amazing endurance events, which if you're not familiar with, we're going to talk about today, and I'm really excited to learn more about. The Buzzards Bay Swim, which is a 1.2 mile open water swim, I believe. The Watershed Ride, which offers distances up to a century. And these aren't just events, they're experiences tied directly to the environment that they're trying to protect. So I'm really excited to chat about those today. And for those who don't know where Buzzards Bay is, if you haven't looked at a map, it's about 30 miles in length. It's located in southeastern Massachusetts. Elizabeth Islands are to its south. Cape Cod is to its east. It connects to the Cape Cod Bay via the Cape Cod Canal. So without further ado, joining today are Marlissa Briggett, the Vice President of Public Engagement, and Scott Lajoie, the Communications Director of the Buzzards Bay Coalition. Welcome both. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much, Art. Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about the events themselves, how issues like water quality and infrastructure can literally change the course. But Scott, let's start with you. For listeners who may not be familiar with your organization, could you describe the Buzzards Bay Coalition in your own words for us?
Sure. Yes, we're a nonprofit based here on the south coast of Massachusetts, headquartered in headquartered in New Bedford, but we also have smaller offices and facilities all throughout the south coast. We focus on clean water advocacy, bay science, and also land conservation. Those are our three main sort of three legs of the stool, if you will.
And then we have a fourth leg too, I'd say.
What's the fourth leg?
Yeah.
Outdoor exploration, just to get kids and families excited about the environment so they become, stewards of the environment themselves. So that's a big part of what we're doing.
Lots of our land is open to the public for people to come hike, explore. We do a lot of guided tours through a lot of our properties. And then we also, one of our facilities in Onset Bay called the Onset Bay Center is a renovated bathhouse that offers all different types of activities from sailing to kayaking to summer camps.
Wow, there's more than meets the eye here. So Marlissa, I understand you have some personal connections in that area, right? I mean, I think you spent some time on Cape Cod in your childhood and probably in your adulthood.
I spent my summers, my mom was a teacher, and so we went every summer to Onset, and that was the Wicked's Island was the place that was the most adventurous place we went to because you could sort of swim or row your boat over. And the very cool thing is that for a long time we were afraid somebody would buy it because it was for sale. And then we didn't have to be afraid because actually the Buzzards Bay Coalition bought it. And now it's part of our properties and it's part of the Onset Bay Center's kind of area. So kids now do the same things that I did when I was a kid, which is to get out there and explore the island, which is a tiny island, by the way. So when I say explore the island, it's manageable for a 6-year-old. So I have always been into the coalition. Scott and I joined in November of 24, but we had been longtime participants of the events that we're going to talk about today. So we have sort of that, we can wear both hats. We're here in the coalition working, but we also came to it as participants ourselves.
Did the coalition originally form because there were some concerns around pollution? How did this come to be?
It was a coalition of a diverse coalition of citizens, and it was kind of in the response to there had been oil spills back in the 80s, and then I think most recently in 2003, and the coalition gathered people who were concerned about this, and then we were able to pass the toughest oil regulations in the country in Massachusetts, and now oil spills are not as dire a concern, but nitrogen pollution certainly is. and, development and that kind of thing. So the slogan is Save Buzzards Bay. And that was the slogan when we started. It's still the slogan every day. We're thinking about how to save Buzzards Bay because there are threats all the time.
When I think about Buzzards Bay, I think about the body of water. But Scott, you kind of alluded to there are some land components to it. Like, what are the elements that make up the Buzzards Bay, I suppose?
Yeah, so there is a map on our website of all the watershed towns. We go up as far as, on the eastern side, up into Rochester and even into Plymouth a little bit, because all of those waters eventually come down to Buzzards Bay, and a number of estuaries, rivers, and their surrounding estuaries all sort of empty into Buzzards Bay. So the quality, the water quality of those estuaries is crucial to the quality of the Buzzards Bay water as well. And because we are, there is development on within the South Coast. All of these towns have numerous homes and developments and businesses along them. We are trying our best to make sure that the groundwater that goes into the estuaries that then goes out into the bay is clean and, a good habitat for wildlife, for the ecosystem, and eventually, out into the waters and the clarity of water that we all enjoy when we're out on Buzzards Bay.
I mean, this sounds like a pretty elaborate organization. How many folks are in the nonprofit?
We have about 35 employees, and they're doing all sorts of things. Science, Scott mentioned science, land stewardship, some working with kids. Yeah, so it's pretty robust, but we need more because everything keeps changing. Now we have to deal with warming waters and sea level rise, and so it's like the things kind of change. We have to respond to them.
We rely on a vast network of volunteers for working on our events. As you may imagine, as every time that there is an event, you need a lot of people supporting the event, providing water stops along the way, navigation, etc. But also what we are known for is our volunteer groups that help with our water quality monitoring. We have hundreds of monitors who sign up for the summer, and they go through a little training period with our water quality monitoring staff, and they go out into numerous places throughout the bay, embayments, and test the water for oxygen levels, temperature, water clarity, so we can get a better sense. And we have one of the longest running surveys of a water body on all of this, in this whole area throughout the East Coast.
That sounds like it might be something good for an intern. I mean, is it technical in nature in terms of gathering and then the testing?
All sorts of people are doing it. A lot of people do it for years, and there's kind of a lot of people who are retired. Sometimes they bring their grandchildren who then become water quality monitors. It's just these people who are committed, and they have to get up early in the morning to do it. We're really grateful to them.
And there's different levels of water quality monitoring. The folks who are working on a weekly basis, they're testing for the things I mentioned. And then we do, water loggers that are situated in certain places, which monitor the water, the different characteristics of the water on a more frequent basis. And then we also have what are called nutrient days, where people go out into areas into the embayments, all these spots in the embayments, and test for additional characteristics that go. And those things are things that have to be sent in to a lab down in Woods Hole with the Woodwell Climate Center. And so they are measuring things like chlorophyll levels. That's one that stands out to me right now, and other sort of biological things. And then we also have a program of river monitoring too. So then you're going even further up into the watershed and checking on places where the rivers are coming together, and how those hydrology dynamics are affecting the estuaries.
Okay, what is an embayment?
I would say that's a good question, Art, but I think of it, and I may be wrong about this because I'm not the scientist. I'm here in public engagement, but I think of the embayments as, so I'm in Unsafe Bay, and then Unsafe Bay has a number of little sub-embayments, you have the big Buzzards Bay, then you have little harbors, then you have little coves.
Got it, okay.
And that's what that is. Yeah.
I mean, when I hear you
Um,
guys talk about this and I think of how big this place is, I'm like, who would do this work if you didn't exist?
yeah. Good.
I
Good.
mean, would it be like MWRA? Would it be some
Yeah, I
DEP?
mean, no, I think it
Yeah,
had to be grassroots citizen. I mean, because we're really the longest running water quality monitoring in the state. So I don't know that it would have been done. They use our data
That's
to
wild.
make policy. Yeah.
states will do some of this, but I mean, it's not nearly as comprehensive as what we do or what an organization like us, say in, Chesapeake Bay, might do as well. It's just there's a need for this, and sometimes that there's scientists that might choose a particular embayment to study. We actually just hired um, a scientist who has one of the longest studies on eelgrass in West Falmouth Harbor, and she's going to be for the next 2 years, working with us on a lot of different embayments. But we're taking her expertise on that particular body of water.
So if I'm training for a swim and I live right off the coast of one of these embayments, and I want to know if the water quality is okay for me to swim in the middle of
Yeah.
July, where would I go for that?
You can go to our website, savebuzzardsbay.org. We're actually updating the website, so it's going to be even cooler that you can find it in on a big map. But you can go to that page, and under the science, you can find your water quality in whatever
Cool.
part of the bay you are. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And
Wow.
that's kind of what's cool. You mentioned it at the beginning. What's cool is that these events that we do are fundraisers. We don't have galas. We don't have
Yes, I want to
dinners
talk
and
about
things.
these events.
Yeah, and
Let me properly lead into it. So you guys, you run these two signature events, right, that are in the Buzzards Bay area. So you got the Buzzards Bay Swim, you got the Watershed Ride. I'm really curious. Could one, maybe each of you could take one of the events and sort of talk about what is it, when does it exist, like
yep.
who can sign up?
Okay, maybe I'll start with the swim, and then you can do the
Okay.
ride, Scott.
Okay, sure.
But like as a footnote, I do want to say I think these are iconic events for New England, like an open water swim and this great ride that goes a perimeter of Buzzards Bay. But I also want to mention that we do have 35 bibs for the Falmouth roadways. So we do have runners as well. And so we're trying to get people, and we hope some of your listeners might be interested, to do all three events. And then we're going to have like the Buzzards Bay Triple Crown. We haven't decided what the title is, but there's some kind of thing that we're going to bless them with in terms of a little swag or something like that, because we think it'd be fun to have some triathletes, but over the course of the whole
Absolutely.
summer,
Yeah.
And they're all like the Falmouth roadways, of course, like they're all just spectacular events. But so I'll start off with the swim, which is coming up sooner than the ride. That's June 20th. And every year the shipping channel in New Bedford closes down just for 2 hours so that our swimmers can go across the harbor. So it's kind of a big deal to have everything come to a stop as you have hundreds of swimmers going across. But it's been over 30 years we've been doing it. And it started,
Wow.
a group of people were at this dive bar and they said, let's swim across to sort of make a statement about clean water. And that's how it started, I think 7 or 10 people. And then it's grown to now be hundreds of people jumping in. And one of the things that I love, one of our swimmers last year said it best. And she said, you can't describe hundreds of people jumping in the water to bring awareness to the need for clean water, the need for advocacy, the need for just keeping your eye on the ball. It's just a brilliant day to be able to all jump in together. We have a great party at the other side. So it's 1.2 miles. We have all kinds of swimmers. I think that's one of the things that our swimmers tell us that they like the most, is there are people who are like super swimmers, masters swimmers, maybe who have been swimming forever. But we also have people who just say, oh, that's kind of a bucket list item for me. I want to try to do that. So we have, 5 different waves, and you can be in the last 2 waves are people who want to have kayak escorts. We have kayaks. Of course, we have kayaks along the route anyway, but this is like individual kayak escorts. So we have all sorts of people who are just going to decide to start swimming tomorrow, and people who swim every day of the year at the pool. So it's like a great community.
Is it my understanding that you couldn't do it in the bay last year?
That is right. So that's a
So what
good
happened?
point. So we had a backup plan. So one of the things is that, we have to do the testing to see if there's rain, there could be CSO overflows into the harbor. Last year, the problem is moving a big event like this, you need at least 48 hours notice, because we have to talk to all the safety personnel, get the word out to the swimmers. And there was rain on the horizon. So we were afraid that the rain would happen, that water would not be safe to swim in. So we had to last year go with our backup plan, which was actually in Onset, which I mentioned earlier, and from Shell Point Beach and around Wickett's Island and back. So we do have that. That was the first year we did that. It was epic, but we can't wait to be back in New Bedford next year. I mean, this year. Yeah.
Well, so
Yeah.
logistically, you said you swim across the bay. How do you get back?
Logistics are always tough for all races, right? But we have buses. So many people have someone drop them off at the start and then pick them up at the end. But
Okay.
we also have shuttle buses going both ways. You can leave your car at the beginning and get shuttled to the front, or vice versa. So
Got it. Okay.
we make it pretty easy for you.
Yes, folks can sign up now through your website.
They can sign up, savebuzzardsbay.org/swim. Registration is really low. It's $35. We're going up to $40 on May 15th. So sign up before May 15th. And then there is a fundraising component, but that's $300. And we find that people are easily able to raise that from their friends and family who believe in, clean water, shellfishing, fishing, going to the beach and swimming. So we try to keep the fundraising minimum low, but we hope that so that it's accessible to a lot more people, but we hope that people can try to fundraise as much as possible, because it's important. This helps us in our work every day, this fundraiser.
Sounds like an amazing event, amazing cause, of course. And Scott, does the bike ride take place now, a month after this? Or tell me about the bike here. Where are we starting from?
Bike is is October 4th. So it's right when sort of fall is, beautiful time of year on the South Coast. There's a little bit of leaf changing, especially around the wetlands that we're riding through. Last year's weather was perfect. Some of the bikers, I think we had 70 degrees, in the mid to high 70s. It was great.
Perfect.
And so that we start. Well, there's a 100-mile route, which starts at Seconic Point in Little Compton. And for those who want to do the 100-mile full century, then there's a 41-mile, which leaves out of one of our properties called Red Brick Farm. That's in Rochester, Mattapoisett, sorry. Red Brick Farm from Mattapoisett. And this year, for the 20th year, we have a 20-mile ride. There were a lot of people who thought, maybe, hey, the 41 might be a little too much. Would you consider doing something a little shorter? So this one's entirely on the Cape side of Buzzards Bay. So nobody has to go over the bridge, or, if they want to start, if they're Cape residents and they want to just do the 20 miles on Cape. And that's going to start at the Bourne Intermediary School, right near the Bourne Bridge, and go down our finish line in Woods Hole. So all of them end up in the same spot. There's a big party down on the Marine Biological Lab campus there.
Post-race party, huh? How many
Yes.
folks do the ride typically?
Last year we had 400. This year
Wow.
we'd like 500. Next year we want 600. It's so fun that we want everyone to start doing it. It's I think it's one of the prettiest rides in New England. I've done the PMC, and that the second day of the PMC is so beautiful. And I feel like it's like day 2 of the PMC. It's just really beautiful. And and again, you're pedaling past the lands that we're protecting. And so, you can see what you're doing.
I got to get this on the radar. I mean, it's a perfect time of year, right? It's usually fantastic weather, maybe a little bit on the cooler side, which is great for riding.
Yep.
I'll definitely be spreading the word on that. We're always looking for new centuries to do, my crew up here in the Arlington area.
Cool. We have actually a lot of Arlington folks, so I can introduce you to them.
Yeah, Marlissa recruited every single one.
Okay, so definitely get this on the radar. I mean, when folks are signing up for your event, right? It sounds like it's a great just loop, but do folks typically just resonate with the cause itself? For the swim, it seems like a no-brainer. Is it the same way for the ride as well?
So the swim is the ride gets a broader cross section of people, I think, because you get a lot of cyclists are from all over. So we get cyclists coming from Greater Boston and all. I think it resonates for everyone. I do think the swimmers are a particularly passionate bunch because they're actually in the very water, right? But I think everybody appreciates the mission and the goal, you know.
And the ride too is, goes through so many different landscapes. You have some waterfront, you're going through some forests, some grasslands, through farms. The South Coast is, and the Buzzards Bay watershed has lots of agriculture. So in some of the towns where you're first starting, whether it's Little Compton and Westport and Dartmouth, you're actually riding through like farmland. And then you get into, New Bedford, which is an urban center. Even the spot where you're in New Bedford is because you're going by the hurricane barrier. You're within sight of
Cool.
of the fishing fleet in New Bedford.
Oh, wow.
And we do work in New Bedford and Fairhaven. The New Bedford Harbor is is where we all started, and our headquarters are there. So you're going through an area that we've done considerable amount of work on. There's a marsh island in Fairhaven. We just opened to the public after years of restoration there. It's the largest piece of undeveloped land on New Bedford Harbor. We also, up the river a little bit, is the Acushnet Sawmill, which we had restored back to its natural state. It's this beautiful oasis in the otherwise very urban center. And so, even people who are like in New Bedford and Fairhaven, where you think of them as urban centers, we do a lot of work there too.
Wow. So is it similar fundraising
Yes,
ask as well for that
actually
event?
exactly the same. It's a $300 fundraising minimum, which again, that's never changed in the 20 years. So this is the 20th anniversary. So this is the year you got to start art because you want to be part of this big party. I mean, it's going to be a great party. That's what we're so excited. Like, oh, it's the 20th. We're going to make this even better than it already is.
Yeah.
Which it already is great. But the $300 fundraising minimum, and then the registration right now is $65, and it goes up to $75 at some point. But right now it's $65. Yeah.
This thing's been going on for 20 years. Could one of you think of, I guess, a participant story that really captures the essence of either the run or the swim?
So many.
I can think of some swimmer stories. There's one of our longtime swimmers. He hadn't been a swimmer before, and he just decided he was going to do it, Steve Johnson, and now he's been doing it for years now. But last fall, he said to us, I love this swim because I wake up in, whatever, 5 a.m. or whatever time he wakes up in. When I get in my car and it's quiet and I start driving. And then as I get closer to New Bedford, I see everybody kind of coming. And then by the time I get there at 7 a.m., there's hundreds of people there, like 1,000 people when you think about volunteers and spectators. And then it's so exhilarating. It's the best way to start the summer. And he says, and when he gets within 50 feet of the end, he starts to be sad because it's over for another year. So he can see the end and he thinks, oh, I have to wait another year for that.
That's cool.
That's one of our swimmers that I think about. And I also think about Rhea, who Scott interviewed last year. She was 65 years old on the beach with her daughter and seeing all these swimmers, and she said, I think I want to do that. And she hadn't been a swimmer. And
wow.
she started training the next year, and I guess she was 65 for her first swim. She was 65 and she did her first swim, and she did it probably for, 10 years probably. She did it for a long time.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
cool. What about you, Scott? Anything come to mind?
Well, I mean, we've interviewed a number of cyclists. One that comes to mind is Jeff Sullivan. He's just he's a longtime volunteer for the coalition. Started, he loves to bike. He and his wife started biking years ago. He didn't do it when he was real young, but then picked it up. He just has made it a point this is his thing. He's always one of the highest fundraisers. He has this uncanny ability to get people to give to his cause, and each year he outdoes himself. When you meet him, he is the most, soft-spoken gentleman. You just would have no idea that somebody like that's not this booming personality, but rather someone who's kind of quiet, would raise as much money as he does. But he's just a wonderful guy. His head's totally in the right place. He has a great attitude all the time about all of this. And he's wonderful. He's just the type of person that we love to have part of the ride.
That's awesome. I guess, like, what's one small thing that endurance athletes can do to help protect the environment? We're always training and racing in these environments. Like, is there anything we can do on like a day-to-day basis, I guess?
Oh, that's such a good question. I would say the one thing you can do is to join either the swim or the ride.
You've got folks listening all over New England, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, and now I'm like, what I'm thinking, if I'm going out for a swim training session or even just a swim, I feel like I should check some resource now to be made more aware of what type of water quality I'm swimming in.
I do think that people who are outdoor swimmers and who are riders are probably much more aware of the environment and are already doing great things to support it. But yeah, we want them to think about Buzzards Bay. Buzzards Bay is just a unique body of water, and we want to.
Well, can you tell me a little bit more about that? For someone who doesn't spend any time down near Buzzards Bay, what other things happen in and around Buzzards Bay, I guess, from a recreation standpoint?
Everything. I mean, there's so much happening here.
Like, you got kayaking, right? You got fishing.
You got the fishing, you have, we have lots of birding and shellfishing. We have everything you can do, canoeing, kayaking, stargazing, like everything that you can imagine is down here. And I was just thinking of things that the coalition does for public programming, like we do all of those things. We have intro to shellfishing or stargazing or whatever.
Well, that's cool. I'll have to check that out.
It's a beautiful area, and I think that we're fiercely protecting it. We don't want it to get overdeveloped, and which would negatively impact the bay. So,
well, Scott, what's your favorite thing to do in or around Buzzards Bay?
Let's see. I mean, I love to bike. I'm more on this side of the bay.
What's this side?
Like I'm on the east side versus, but like Little Compton is way on the west side. But yeah, I mean, I'm also the editor of the magazine, South Coast Almanac. So, I mean, my job is to just sort of understand why everybody loves this area.
So tell me about that. What is this called? The South Coast Almanac?
Yes. So
what is this?
So go ahead, Marlissa. You're gonna explain what South Coast Almanac is.
So South Coast Almanac is a regional magazine that we started about 10 years ago before we were with the coalition, and then we kind of came into the coalition, but South Coast Almanac still exists, and it was to shine a spotlight on this, what I call the most special corner of New England. It's kind of a little bit of a hidden gem, and I think all of us who live down here knew what we could do in our own towns, but we didn't necessarily know what was in other people's backyards, and I always think a magazine is where I always go to get my information. And Cape Cod had so many. We did one for the South Coast, which is that is a good part of the watershed, but we're on the other side of the bay as well now with the coalition. So we have Bourne and Falmouth, and Vineyard Sound is also part of the coalition. But anyway, so the Almanac, we're always trying to figure out like what are the things that people want to do, and there's just so much to do. It's a great spot for outdoor activity.
There was a lot of good overlap too, because we would do stories on what to do outdoors, overall. And therefore it became like the coalition was the affinity between the two, between the magazine and the coalition was very tight because we had done so much of what people want to do. And going forward, the coalition knows, the more likely people are to get involved in the protection of it all depends on how passionate and how engaged they are with the area in which they live. So the more you can stoke that curiosity and that wonder of where you're living, then the better you are to be involved in your community, doing things like events like these,
This is great. I'm gonna have to check all these things out, add them to our show notes. I mean, is
Yeah.
there anything else either of you would like to add, or how can we support you if we can't do these events, but we might spend time down there?
Well, if you can't do the events, because if you can come down and volunteer, and it's just a matter of like, oh, I'm injured or whatever. Volunteers are great. They're a big part of what we do. We're always looking for volunteers for both events. We need well over 100 for each of the events. But if you want to get involved, I'm going to go back to the website savebuzzardsbay.org and just check it out. And there's a whole section on, places to go, things to discover, and you can just go on and sort of pick some places to come down and take a walk, or go for a row, or whatever, and just come down, and then we'll get you. We'll get you one way or another. Yeah.
You just reminded me of something I guess I wanted to ask you earlier, Marlissa. You did the swim?
I did this swim one time, so it was like I mentioned Rhea, who was like, "Oh, that looks interesting," and I had always, heard of it and seen people doing it. And then a friend of mine said, "Well, they time it for the tide to sort of help you push you in a little bit." And I thought, well, I guess I could do it if the tide was pushing me. And so I did it, and it's you get a beautiful medal at the end. We have this beautiful medal made in the U.S., and it's the medal that I will never get rid of. Like, I'll keep it forever. It's in my room. And the thing that I'm most proud of in terms of any athletic thing that I've done, my goal was to not be last, and I was third to last. So I met my goal. But I'm not necessarily a swimmer, but I'm really glad I did it, because it's such a remarkable thing to be out in the middle of the harbor, and you can look out and see not Bird Island, the little, what's the name of the lighthouse there, Scott, and then you can see the hurricane barrier. It's very cool. And then you can see you're going to the end, and there's the big, American flag. It's a very cool event.
Wow. That's awesome. Scott, anything else you'd like to add about the coalition that I might have missed or didn't ask about that our listeners should know about?
Yeah, I mean, just with most organizations, we're doing work that kind of is not always in the spotlight. So, we have a newsletter that tells all about what we're doing, each month, whether it be some lands that we're protecting or something we're doing on right now at the state level, trying to get more funding secured for wastewater treatment across South Coast. We'll have unique features on the people who work with us, whether they be scientists, whether they are longtime swimmers and bikers and runners. Yeah.
How do I sign up for that?
For which one?
For the newsletter.
Oh, you just go to our website. There's a little button that says sign up for the Bay Buzz right on our homepage.
That's awesome. I'll be signing up.
Wonderful.
Yeah, this has been great. I mean, this has been really eye-opening for me. I think a lot of endurance athletes, right? They have this, they think about the environment as just scenery, I suppose, like a backdrop to our training ride. But I think this conversation makes it clear that there's much more to that. It's something that can directly shape whether an event happens or not, right? Like your event not happening last year because of pollution. That's just wild that you were able to pull it together and move it. But it's like, wow, this is actually affecting us. So, and I think the swim you mentioned and the Watershed Ride are just great examples of how endurance sports or endurance athletes can be connected to something bigger. I always find that just really purposeful. We love to ride our bike, we love to swim, but it's great when it's connected to something as important as this. So you mentioned a few times, but I'll mention again, if people want to learn more about the coalition, I'll add it to the show notes, but we're going to go to savebuzzardsbay.org. Thank you both for coming on the show and taking the time out of your day. This has been incredibly informative.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marlissa. Yeah, this is great. So, and I want to thank our listeners as well for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. And until next time, get out there and enjoy. And I'll just say this as well, appreciate the beautiful terrain of New England. Don't take it for granted. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.